Hey guys, what's up and welcome again to my channel. So today's topic of discussion is again translation studies. Actually, some of you complained that in my previous video on translation studies that I was quite fast. Actually, I was quite fast in that video. Actually, when you are new to YouTube, then it's quite difficult to understand how will people react to your videos and how to make video that people will understand. So in that video, actually that was maybe the fourth session, so that in that video I was quite fast, so forgive me for that. That's why here comes another session on translation studies. I think that this video will cover up all your queries regarding translation studies. So in this video I'm going to discuss the definition of translation studies and how to use translation in various fields, as well as some important theories of translation. And never to forget, I will discuss the role of a translator, and most importantly, what is decoding and recoding while translating. Okay, so firstly let's check out the definition of translation. So what does translation mean? Translation is a transfer of a text or word, written or spoken, from one language to another language. So in this context, we have to know that what is SL or source language and what is TL or target language. So the language which is gonna translate is called source language, or we can say that the language to be translated is called SL, and the language into which the text is to be translated is called TL. So the English word translation derives from the Latin word translatio, which comes from the word trans means across and fere or feric means to carry or to bring. Okay, so the word latio is the past participle form of ferry. So thus the translation is a carrying across or a bringing across. So guys, in the last portion of this slide you will find a quotation by Susan Besnett from her book Translation Studies. So you can use this quotation in your answer also, okay, in your answer in translation studies. So this quotation is quite important, read it, and you can also take screenshot. So after this, let's peep into our next slide. So the translation generally involves the rendering of our source language text into a target language text. So the source language is called SL and the target language is called TL, as I said before. So while translating from SL to TL, we have to remember one thing, that the surface meaning of the two languages will be approximately similar, and the structures of the source language will be preserved as possible but not so closely, so that the TL means the target language structures will not be seriously distorted. Okay, so thus it can be said that translation is a process that connects different languages and different cultures, and in this process of translation separate worlds and cultures are bridged together. So now we have to know that how translation is used in various fields. So throughout the history, written or spoken, translation plays a crucial role in the interhuman communication. The idea of translation holds a kind of different meaning in different levels. So in this context, we have to know one thing, which is what is translation and what is interpretation. So the translation for communication purpose is generally called interpretation, but although the terms translation and interpretation are often used interchangeably, okay, but strictly translation refers to the written language and interpretation refers to the spoken word. So in a word, it can be said that translation is the action of interpretation of the meaning of a text and the subsequent production of an equivalent text that communicates the same message in another language. So now let's check out the important theories of translation studies. So guys, you all know that translation activity is quite ancient, okay, and the very first translation known to us are the bilingual inscriptions during the Egyptian Old Kingdom, probably in the 3000 BC. So then Cicero and Horace made an important distinction between word for word and sense for sense translation. So from ancient to modern period, there were introduced various kinds of theories related to translation. So George Steiner divides the literature into 4 periods based on the theory and the practice of translation. And the periods are: the first period extends from the statements of Horace and Cicero on translation up to the publication of Alexander Fraser Tytler's Essays on the Principles of Translation in 1791. So this is the first period. Now we have the second period. The second period runs up to 1946 and is characterized as a period of theory and hermeneutic inquiry with the development of a vocabulary and methodology of approaching translation. And the third period begins with the publication of the first papers on machine translation in the 1940s, and it is characterized by the introduction of structural linguistics and communication theory into the study of translation. And last but not the least, the fourth period has its origins in the early 1960s. It is characterized by interpretation. So these are the four periods by George Steiner. So this period dividation by George Steiner is quite important. Now let's check out John Dryden's theories of translation. So John Dryden in 1680 in the preface to Ovid's Epistles reduces all translation into three categories. First one is metaphrase, then paraphrase, then imitation. Metaphrase is the word by word and line by line translation, which also means the literal translation. And paraphrase means the translation with latitude. It means that here the author is kept in view by the translator, but his words are not so strictly followed as his sense. So this kind of translation involves changing whole phrases and more or less corresponds to faithful translation. So you can call paraphrase as a kind of faithful translation and metaphrase as literal translation. Now we have imitation. So in the process of imitation, the translator forsakes both words and sense of the author. So this type of translation corresponds to Abraham Coley's very free translation. So now we have Joseph Casagrand's theories of translation. So according to Joseph Casagrand, there are four types of translation, like pragmatic translation, aesthetic translation, ethnographic translation, and linguistic translation. So pragmatic translation refers to the translation of a message with accuracy of the information conveyed in the SL to the target language, means TL. Basically, the translations of scientific and technical texts come under this category. Now we have aesthetic translation. So in this type of translation, the translator takes into account the emotions and the meanings of the SL to TL, okay, and translation of literature comes under this category. And then we have ethnographic translation. So the objective of this kind of translation is to explain the cultural context of the source language and target language versions of the text. Now we have linguistic translation. So this type of translation is concerned with the equivalent meanings and the constituent morphemes of the target language text. So now we have Roman Jakobson's theories of translation. Friends, all these theories are quite important. So Roman Jakobson, in his seminal paper called On Linguistic Aspects of Translation, proposed about three kinds of translation. So at first we have intralingual translation or rewording. So this is an interpretation of verbal signs by means of other signs of the same language. So friends, this type of translation is quite important, and it is quite different also from the other translations, because in this translation the verbal signs of one language are translated into other signs of the same language. So here there is no difference between the source language and target language, because verbal signs of one language are translated into other signs of the same language. In the case of translating music and picture, this translation is used. So after this we have intralingual translation or translation proper. So this type of translation means an interpretation of the verbal signs by means of some other languages. Example, from English to Hindi, from Hindi to English translation. Now we have intersemiotic translation or transmutation. So this type of translation is viewed as the basis of cultural communication, through which the ideas are circulated, translated and explained by using language, images and other semiotic resources. Here, more than focusing on words, emphasis is given in the message or the information that needs to be conveyed. For example, translation of a movie into text or translation of a text into movie is called intersemiotic translation. So guys, this theories by Roman Jakobson is pretty much important. So after this theory, we have Peter Newmark's theories on translation. In the textbook on translation, which was originally published in 1988, Peter Newmark proposed 8 kinds of translation, and they are word-for-word translation, which is also often demonstrated as interlinear translation, and this type of translation is also called direct translation. Okay, so translating the sentences or words from one language to another, actually one word at a time, is called word for word translation. So that's why this type of translation do not able to convey generally the sense of the original text. Okay, and by doing the word for word translation, many times it do not follow the grammatical order also. Then we have literal translation. So in this translation, the source language grammatical constructions are converted to the nearest target language equivalents. But here also the lexical words are again translated singly out of context. Okay. Then we have faithful translation, which is quite important also, because this kind of translation attempts to reproduce the precise contextual meaning of the original text within the constraints of the target language grammatical structures. So after this we have semantic translation. So this translation differs from the faithful translation only in the one case that this type of translation takes more account, gives more emphasis on the aesthetic value of the source language text. So now we have the communicative translation. So this type of translation attempts to render the exact contextual meaning of the original text in such a way so that both the content and language are readily acceptable and obviously comprehensible to the readership. Okay. So now we have idiomatic translation. So this type of translation reproduces the message of the original text, but it tends to distort various nuances of meaning by preferring colloquialisms and idioms which actually do not exist in the original or the source text. Okay. So now we have free translation. So this kind of translation actually reproduces the matter without the manner, It means that this type of translation reproduces the content without the form of the original. So after this we have adaptation. So this is the freest form of translation, and this is also used for many plays and poetry. So in this case, the themes, the characters and plots are usually preserved, but the source language culture converted to the target language culture and the text is rewritten. So guys, I think that all these theories are quite clear. Here I discussed it briefly. Okay, if you know a detailed discussion of each of the theories, then you can Google it. There are ample of thesis, ample of PDF on the translation theories. So guys, now you have to know that what is the role of a translator while translating. Okay, so the person who should translate is generally called the translator. We all know that. So the translator of a literary text will have to bridge the gap between the two cultures, between the source language culture and the culture of the target language. So here comes the main problem of the translator while translating, which is how to deal with the cultural issues. Means while translating, which issues to take priority the most, whether it is the cultural aspects of the source language community or the cultural aspects of the target language community, or perhaps a combination between the two. So this is the main problem of a translator while translating. So in this context, in the book How to Translate Well from One Language to Another in 1540, one French humanist named Etienne Dolet established 5 principles for translators, such as the translator must fully understand the sense and the meaning of the original author. Secondly, the translator should have a perfect knowledge of the both source language and the target language. Thirdly, the translator should avoid word-for-word renderings. Fourthly, the translator should use forms of speech in common use. And finally, the translator should choose and order words appropriately to produce the correct sense, the correct tone. So these are the 5 rules or 5 principles that a translator has to follow. Again, in this context also, in the Epistle to the Reader of George Chapman's translation of the Iliad, George Chapman himself states that the translator must avoid word-for-word rendering. The translator must attempt to reach the spirit of the original text, as well as the translator must avoid over-loose translation. So actually friends, translation involves two types of activities. One is the understanding of the message of the source language, or it is called decoding. And the second is the expression of this message of the SL in the target language, and this is called recoding. So Eugene Nida has diagrammatically shown it in the following way. So friends, here you can see the diagram. So from this diagram, it is clear that to decode the meaning of the source language text entirely, the translator must interpret and analyze all the features of a text. And this process requires in-depth knowledge of the grammar, syntax, semantics, idioms of both the source language and the target language. Okay. So according to Susan Besnett and Andre Lefebvre, the study of the culture always involves an examination of the processes of encoding and decoding, and that comprise translation. So this quotation is quite important. You can use it in your thesis also. So now let's understand it with the help of some examples. Now let's take the example of the English words hello and yes into Italian words. Okay, so the English words hello in Italian is called pronto or ciao, and the English word yes in Italian is called si. So in the case of translating the English words hello and yes into Italian language, then at first we have to take the word and started analyzing it. Like the English word hello is used for friendly greetings and arrival, and yes is used to show affirmative side. So after analyzing this, the translator should start to restructuring the words with other words which are related to arrival or greeting, as well as which are related to the affirmative signs in the target language. And by doing so, the translator found the target word. So this is the process of almost every translation. Okay. So friends, you can take a screenshot of this diagram. This will definitely help you to understand the process of translation. Okay. So with this, we ended up discussing translation studies. So thank you so much for watching this video.